Hi, I'm Clint. Welcome to Swatches Livestream number 11. We're going to be painting metal this time, so we'll be taking your questions here from the chat. So let's get started with the intro and get right into it. Sorry for the slow start this time. I was driving back from Nashville and got stuck in some of the rush hour traffic. I also forgot to plug my earphones in, so if you just give me a moment, I'll get these plugged in. And welcome everybody. Appreciate you sticking around. Sorry for the slow start there. Pamela, Thomas, good to have you both. Jay Welch, Kim. Hey, finally managed to catch the live stream. Well, glad to have you. Thanks for joining. I know everybody has a lot of options of what they can do on Monday evenings or 2 a.m., wherever you are. But I appreciate you coming out here and joining it with me as we just talk about some art stuff, go over some techniques, and learn some new stuff. Nix, hey, good to have you. Yeah, I just got back in town. I was pretty slow there on the interstate for a little while. Hey, Federico, good to have you back. How is everybody doing tonight? Don't really have anything to do. Pamela, I can fix that for you. You got a new challenge. So, I have not gone out to see the new Justice League movie. Anybody gone and seen that? Is that worth my time? So far, I've been more of a Marvel guy. I love the DC heroes. I love their characters more, but I gotta say, I've been enjoying the Marvel films more. I still think I want to get out there and catch Justice League just because, I want to support my Batman. But that's about it. They had that really good animated movie of the Justice League that came out, a year or two ago. That was pretty good. Okay, let me open up Photoshop. It'll just take a moment, and then we can get into some of this. Let me get OBS out of the way. Okay, well, let's start by just covering the winner for last week and talk about what we'll be doing for the challenge for this week. Then we'll get in Photoshop with the actual painting section of the live stream. Rasmus, good to have you. Mitch, welcome. Remember, if you're new to the chat, or just a reminder to everybody else, if you have a question for me that you'd like me to answer on stream, then put @Swatches there at the beginning of your comment in the live chat, so that it will flag it for me, and it's easier for me to see it with that flag. Okay. We had a lot of entries this time. This might be the most entries received for any of the challenges. There we go. Right here. Jake Gyllenhaal will be the next Batman. Ben Affleck is done. Yeah, that's a shame. I really enjoyed Ben Affleck as Batman in the Batman v Superman. Didn't care for the movie a whole that much, but I enjoyed him as Batman. It's a shame that it was such a fiasco on the making the movie side of it that he'd rather get out than have to stick around for it. Yeah. Okay. I'll switch screens here. Wrong one. I've done that so many times. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so these are the entries. We've got 18 or so entries this time around. And if you were not part of the challenge was to get this line drawing that I'd done, older sketches of some armor concepts, and to paint that up in different types of metal, just a metal texture surfacing sort of exercise. And you guys really showed up. Give me a lot of different kinds. We have a lot of silver and gold, as well as, rusted metal, all gold. Dinsar gave us some in these wild purple colors, some with glass on it. A lot of different rendering types. Mr. Daedalus. Look at this stuff. I like this. This is really cool. This is a different take on it. Not your typical metal armor, but some sort of glass armor. Neat stuff. So some highlights. Chloe did some really nice pieces here. I like the way the metal works here. This is something to pay attention to. She did it well here, that it's the two levels of metal, like kind of an etching style, so that the lower level is a little bit darker, then you have the relief, that sticks up. And then throwing that little extra color from some of the light sources at night. This is also well handled. Not a lot of detail on that black, but it comes out very well as being that glossy black, which highlights well against the gold. But this time around, the winner, who just got his stuff in on time, Thomas, is Thomas Schaefer. Check out these beautiful designs. Right there, yep. He's going to very glossy armor, very high shine, I'll say it that way, which is very mirrored, which it makes sense why he put the surrounding around it, because it really is going to use a lot of the colors of the surrounding. He's molded these out very well. It shows a lot of understanding of how metal works. Very good work, Thomas. Hey, congrats again. I know that you've won one of these before, and you totally deserve the win on this one as well. Again, you know how to contact me. Contact me. Let me know what I can hook you up with. Beautiful stuff here, guys. It's worth taking a look at this, taking some cues off of how he's handled this, and that's what it is. I do appreciate everybody else's. I want to do some shout outs to other people. I liked the variations that you guys did, some of the black pieces, high shine gold pieces. There was some more here that had, like, this was neat with some of the glowing elements inside of it. I like the glowing spikes on there from Flatus Design. Nice, nice. Also up here, I know I'm not going to get to everybody's. I just want to hit a couple of things. I like this. What a nice way, Francel. And the way that you kind of lit that, letting that go off in a silhouette, highlighting some of this detail right here. Very well handled. I think you're on the right path on that one. Wrong one. Yeah, no, Thomas. I just turned on my computer, and I saw that I had a message from you, the comment from you with the link. So I just got it in. I was like, oh, that really looks good. Comes off with the right texture. It feels very metallic, and it shows a lot of understanding of how metal works. So I wanted to go with that. My second pick would be Chloe. Chloe, you did a really fantastic job, and I really hope to see more from you. I saw that one sketch in the last Patreon challenge, and it was good. And yeah, this one too was also excellent. The way that you rendered out and showed the different kinds. That would be the only thing I would say about Thomas's is that all three of them are very similar, and where Chloe did more varieties of different kinds of metals. So that would be close that way. So, okay, now let's talk about the challenge for this week, and I need to pull up a different tab here on that. So just give me a moment. Swatches here. Let me open this one. Yeah, Thomas's did have a very 3D feel to them. The only way to do that is to take a lot of time and to think through it. I don't think he 3D modeled it. He can tell us. I really doubt it. I think he hand painted it. But this is the challenge this time. A lot of you guys said that you really enjoyed this challenge more so than the other ones. I had more people say they enjoyed this challenge. So this one is similar. What we'll be doing is having this 3D text right here. And you'll be painting each letter in a different material / surface. Here's a list that you can choose from on this side. I won't read them all. You can read them for yourself. And just basic lighting. You don't need to do anything fancy here. Top lighting, side lighting, you know, some soft lighting. That's not what it's about. It's not fancy lighting. Just show me how you can render each one of these well. Try to make them accurate. Try to use references in order to get that accuracy in there. I am not looking for photorealism, but also I am not looking for something that's super rough. You can refine it a little bit, okay? That's what I'm asking for. And of course, as last time, as every time, in order to submit your entry, all you need to do is leave a comment when this video is posted with a link to your entry image, wherever you happen to be hosting that. Please do keep your options to the list as I have it listed here. And as far as that, there is some play in here like fur, what color fur, what kind of fur from which animal, that's up to you. So there you go. And of course, the winner does get a free item from the swatchesart.com store. And you will be able to let me know, and I'll be able to hook you up with whatever item there. I am going to say, please submit them before 5 o'clock, before an hour before the live stream, because oftentimes I don't have time to go get images and copy them and get them back and judge them. I'm breaking my computer down and I'm bringing it over here and I'm setting it up and I'm prepping it before the live stream. So try to get them in at least an hour before the live stream next Monday. Yep. Okay. Catrasa, you forgot to submit. Sorry, man. You can still send me a link to it. I'll take a look at your image. Maybe we use more than one theme for the challenge. Maybe we use more than one theme. Clarify that for me, Farika. Like, what I'm saying is, don't just choose, wood and do them all in wood. Each letter needs to be a different one from the list, if that helps clarify it. Yeah, you will be doing 7 different textures. There's, I believe, 23 different textures from the list. Yep. Yes, Thomas, I know that you always submit at the last second. Maybe it's a little counterintuitive for me to do the live stream on how to paint metal after I actually give you the painting metal thing. But honestly, you guys are sending in the pictures, and I was looking at that old sketch, and I was just kind of thinking, I'd like to go back and draw that myself. I feel like painting some metal. So, yeah, this is me having a little fun, and maybe you guys pick up a couple of things too. So, yeah. Okay, let me move this up here. Just need to resituate some of my windows, and I'll flip over to Photoshop, and we'll start going on that. I am getting some drop frames. I'm not sure why. Normally, the stream here good. You guys can let me know if it's getting bad on that side. Okay. Now, get this file open up in Photoshop. Chloe says, it's nice to have some examples of common pitfalls as you teach. Okay, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Stream breaking up. Yeah, it's throwing me a red flag there on OBS. I don't know why. I don't really have anything running. OBS itself slows it down sometimes, though. No, you can't blame the Mac. Mac is blameless. Aside from the fact that it's old. All right, I'll have the chat up on the corner of my screen. I don't think you'll be able to see it on your screen, but I'll have it up here, and I'll try to keep an eye on that as we're going. But I'll use the same image. I won't be painting all of the armor. I'll just be doing the helmets for time's sake. Just make a new layer. I'm setting that layer to multiply, like I'm sure all you guys did. And get that to white on the background. Come on, move it up a little bit. I need to be able to read this. There we go. Okay, well, apples for eating, now playing with... Okay. So I'm going to be doing a couple of different ones. Let me just start on this layer. I actually don't want all this filigree stuff right now on this one. I don't have the time to paint all that filigree or etching stuff, so I'm going to just use a mask and paint that out. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm not doing the rest of that. I'm just doing the helmet. Okay. I'll start with this. This guy I'll be doing more like a chrome style. A little shinier. Now, as Thomas showed on his, the idea is that with a highly reflective metal, it basically takes its color from everything around it. You can think of it as a mirror, and how it distorts things is how it picks up the color. Now, whether it's super polished is whether how sharp that image, that mirrored image is, or if you rough it up, then it's going to be much more diffused. We're not going to go super chrome, but it is hopefully going to look fairly reflective. And I'll just start with a light gray, slightly blue, just off of white. Give me a little, what you consider the base color of it. And I'm actually going to chill down this line. The line was very warm to begin with. I'm going to make it a little more gray. Now, I want to use a brush here and put in, the idea is that this is a spherical shape. It's fitting around the man's head, so it's going to distort the reflection like a sphere would. It's going to spherize the reflection around it. That's what I want to get in. I'm also painting over the edges. I'll come back and clean up the edges later and sharpen them up. But for now, I'm just going to paint over them so I don't have to worry about them as I'm going. I want to throw in just a little extra color. Federico, at what time do you have? If you're asking me, it is 6:33 p.m. where I am here in Central Tennessee. Now I'm going to get some darks. The idea is that this is going to be what would be a tree line being reflected in the helmet. This will be bright sky. We'll brighten that up. And down here would be the ground. What I need to do is put some of these in. Oh, not exactly what. No, I like that other brush better. I'm going to just use that one. I also need to be a little faster because I have to remember I'm doing 3 of these. Okay. Rough, rough, rough. And then the ground, I'm going to warm it up. I'll say that you could see some of the dirt maybe in there. Doesn't it throw off your values to work on a white background rather than a more neutral one? Yeah, it could a little bit. In fact, it wouldn't be a bad idea to actually grab like a gray and I could paint around it. That would help a little bit. Now, in the same way, it's also good to throw in some really darks so that you have a dark value to accurately judge against. Otherwise, you might end up limiting your value range because your eye will naturally balance whatever the darkest thing is as black, even though, of course, it's not actually black. I want to add, oh yeah, I want to use this brush. This has a little color shifting built into the brush. So I'm going to put that in here. I feel like there is some varied color in the dirt down here. Yeah, always starting with the shadows. Starting with like the mid-tone shadows is actually a good idea. However, with something that's so reflective, shadowing is a little more ambiguous. It's harder to define where it is because it is so reflective. And that's why I'm basically starting this way. And this sort of metal also has a tendency to blow out the highlights. So I'm going to use my dodge tool in order to brighten that up. I'll leave a little bit of tone right across the top where it starts having to bend back, curve back over the top of the head. Yeah. Transmission is still skipping a lot for me. Are you guys okay? It probably is. Let me see what OBS is saying. Yeah, I've had 2400 drop frames. I don't know what else to do. This is the best connection that I have that I can use. It's really on my side. It's not you guys' connection. Are you sure you want? No, that's not what I meant. Okay, sorry about that. I'm trying to find a place to live that has a better possible internet. Okay. Now that's going to be my base. You know what? I'm going to go back and hit burn tool with the shadows. You can set shadows, midtones, or highlights on the burn tool and how much. And I'm going to knock those. Okay. You know what? Just a little bit more detail. I'm going to make a couple of lines here. Give me 10. I'm interested to see your technique for chainmail. I found Darken's tutorial and it turned out pretty nice. You know, I might do another episode on chainmail itself. I don't think I'm going to have the time at this moment to go into that, but you know, that is a good idea, Chloe, and I will put that on the list of things to cover in the future. That's a pretty good idea. Most of us end up having to paint chainmail at some time. Yep. Yep. All right, now I'll make another layer. That'll just be my base tone, what I just painted. And I want to add some gold on this one. I do want to example some gold. So one of the things I find is that people have a tendency to go too orangey with their gold. So I'm going to pick it slightly more to the green side. And again, this will just be my base tone for the gold. And I want to use this other color changing brush so that it has just a little variance built into it. Pamela asks, hey, Swatches, I'm having trouble blurring or smudging the colors on metallic surfaces. Any tips? Properly setting up a good smudge tool can really help with that, or using a fuzzy brush. Now this is, I used to like never use the smudge tool, but I will come out here and let me get something a little more potent than that. All right, I'll put this here, just to demonstrate. Put this here, there. And let's pull up on that. I go to smudge tool. I got a smudge tool. You can see that that's the shape of the brush right there. It's just this big, wily scribble pattern. But if you go to set up the wrong one, here, let me move that over here. If you go to set it up, this is the parameters. You can pause the stream later once it's posted and take a look at them. We have shape dynamics set to this, angle jitter 83, off, scattering 62% on both axes, count of 1, transfer, that's all that's going on there. Smoothing is turned on. And with that, I keep about, I think it's usually set on 13 or 14. And I could run over this, and you can see that. It's like just wettening pastel. It just softens it out. Or you could, turn it way up, like 68%, and it does get a really nice effect. So you can set one up, and I think that would get you really close to what you want. And of course, you can make your own brush tip, kind of like that. It was Jonas DeRoe, the environment concept artist, that he actually gave me that brush. He showed me how to set it up properly because I tried to use it before, and I never got anything out of that tool from the basic Photoshop setup. But after making those changes, it has become very useful to me. Yeah. I'm going to just keep blocking this gold in a little bit. That's about all I'm going to do as far. I'm not, like, no filigree. I'll do some more detailing on it. Oh, I also needed to put in some cast shadows here. There won't be much. It'll be basic overhead lighting. Just a little dark. Nice tight cast shadow across here. Underneath. We do want to keep the three-dimensionality of what's going on here. That kind of went off. A little more than I need. Mitch says, I'm not able to download challenge link. Getting product not yet for sale warning. Oh, okay. Yeah, I probably forgot to. Yeah, you have to post it, and then you have to tell it to go live. You know what? I'll take care of that right after we finish the live stream. I'll go out there and make it live. I'll publish it. That's what it's called. You have to publish it. I'll go do that. Otherwise, that link should work. Just give me a couple of minutes after the live stream, and I'll get that right up. Okay, Michael. Okay, now for this, a lot of that silver part is already done, but I want to add some detail to the helmet now. I'm going to make a new layer that's a normal layer over top of my lines layer, and that way I can start painting out my lines wherever I need it. And for this, I want to start bringing in some other colors into the gold. So, actually want something a little bit deeper than that. So in joints, places where it starts to bend, I might pick up a different color. And in the lighter places where it's catching light, it's actually going to punch up very bright. So I want to get that. It's rounding right there, so I'm going to get those. It could pick up some white highlights. Toss in a couple of those. I can put a little orange in there. Sure. Are you using color reference to paint the armor? Not right now. I'm just spitballing it. And I do want to put in a little edge light. This isn't going to be super refined. I'm going to show you the process. Then you could go back and understand how you would just detail, clean up all your edges. I want to catch a little highlight down in those corners. And work in some other color here. March journey. I'm starting a month-long fundamental study starting in December. That sounds like a great idea. Light composition, light and color, etc. Any recommendations when doing self-initiated study like this? Fundamentals. I would say go out there. There's a lot of suggestions of, there's a lot of tutorials out there on fundamentals. So I'd say go download some of those tutorials. Even go on Pinterest is a great place that has a lot of free art tutorials, simple ones that people have made. Go get some of them, work your way through those. That way you're not starting from scratch, you're not, drawing a blank on exactly what to do. Yep. I also want to put a little green. I think it picked up gray. There we go. And let's look at something else. This one was that. I'm going to make a new layer and set it my brush down opacity. And paint a section here a little bit darker. Now on this section, I can turn that back up now, is something like what we saw on, who is it, Chloe's, where she had the relief pattern. There are videos. And for that, start with a shaded, slightly darker area, and then you can do an edge line, oops, nice and thin, where it bumps into the other non-reliefed area. I'm not going to take the time to do anything real defined. I'm going to do some randomly little shape stuff, little leaf things, more leaf things. You know what? That's actually too dark. I'm going to go a little lighter than that. Mm-hmm. In this case, I would say, unless you're just doing concept art and you need to indicate that there is some sort of filigree etching going on, actually take the time and go in there and draw some. I don't have that time, so I'm not, but that is something that you would want to do in this case. So I'm just making some designs. Now what I'll do is come back and paint in. The light tone that should be there is a tone that I go back and paint with. And so whatever these shapes are, I can draw them in. So this part is not filigreed, and it can go back to its natural color. You could also probably use a mask and just basically erase out the part that shouldn't be filigreed. I'm painting my armor using a painterly brush strokes rather than realistic. Even in the lightest part, all of that will get a little bit lighter. So when you step out, I think it has a basic armor look to it. Now, I do want to do a couple of little things. Give me my brush back. That would be helpful. Okay. Give me 4. Okay. So if we just clean this up some, it's looking, go to my top layer. I don't want to have to worry about staying on the right layer. It's looking super rough. Oh, I did go out and download Clip Studio for the iPad. I had a couple of people mention that as a good program and want to know how it works on the iPad. I've only spent about 5 minutes on it, downloaded it, made sure it was working, made sure my Apple Pencil was working with it. I look forward to being able to mess with that during the week, and maybe next week I'll be able to talk to you guys and give me a little feedback on about painting with the iPad. I want to put a slight edge light off and on the bottom of that gold as well. This is very uneven. I'm just trying to go fast because I've got 2 more to do. But let's do something else. Let's make some little rivets here. I'm going to start with a dark and make the circle. And I'm also going to use a mid-tone as a little shadow right above it. The idea being that this rivet is pushing into the metal, and it's going to buckle it a little bit into a hollow spot. So I want to put that little shadow right there. Then I want to get the light tone, something like this, it's really light yellow. And I want to make a little light underneath it, where it's, of course, catching it on the bottom side because the light is coming down this direction. And then the middle part can be mainly the normal color of the gold. You're gonna have the little shadow side on the bottom. So we're painting the shadow in first and then adding that light to it. And because it is rounded, it is going to pick up a highlight on the roundedmost part towards the light surface. And, you know, little rivets can help sell the idea. So that's a quick, shiny sort of gold style. For this one, I'll do like a aged brass sort of thing going on here. Let me take a look. We've got some questions. Is there a way to define a highlight mid-tone shadow on something like chrome? Or does a reflection do most of the work to define its form? The reflection does most of the work. It can be rather difficult to figure out where the shadow patterns are on a chromed object. It's like, where's the shadow on a mirror? Like, you can tilt a mirror anywhere you want to go. It still just looks like the thing it's looking at. The whole thing gets a little bit lighter and a little bit darker, but it just does not follow the same light behavior patterns that you can apply to most things. Okay, for this one, I'm going to start with a... You know, I'll pull my palette over there. I don't think you could see that on your stream. I'm using sort of dull umber, raw umber, which is towards the green side. Burnt umber is towards the red side. And no, I'm going to go a bit darker than that. This is going to be like a brass, but it's very old. It's very aged. We want to try to give it some character. So I'm starting with the dark version of it, and then we're going to be adding some other colors and probably even a little patina. I like adding patina to stuff. It's like how to add age. This one doesn't have much age, any signs of age, right? It's a very clean sort of show armor. This one is going to be the very opposite. Okay, now, like we did on the first one, let's start by grabbing some black, and I'm going to drop in some value just up in these back spots underneath, so I have the proper value. Get that dark. Basically, all that neck pattern is going to be in shadow. I'll just say it that way. There we go. That's about all we need from that. Hey, Clint, Mitch asks, are you familiar with Massive Black? Have you ever worked with someone from there? Yes, I am familiar with Massive Black. I've actually attended one of their workshops years ago that was being held in, I believe it was Dallas. I was living near Dallas at the time. And I am familiar with some of their work, and I've met several of the guys, but I've never worked with, well, some of the guys, I might have worked with some of them. I forget who all was on the Massive Black team, but I've met a lot of them. I've never been, if you're asking, I've never been part of Massive Black. I've never been on a, official project with them. But back in the day, they had a very, very popular concept art form, and I was out there quite a bit. I posted out there quite a bit, and they have some good tutorials I don't know that they sell those anymore, or if they sell them individually. There was some sort of legal dispute about who owned the tutorials and was making money off of them, and they all got pulled. So I don't know what happened with that eventually. Okay. I have a giant print of Jason Chan's Zombie Playground in my man cave. Yeah, that's right. I remember the Zombie Playground. Jason Chan, his concept art for that, then went on to make a little indie game on it. All right, just put in some basic light and dark patterns. Now we'll start putting in some color. This is brass, but it's dull, so I want to kind of sneak up on the color. I just want patches of it in here, patches of color. And this color changing brush, like I mentioned, is giving me a little variation as I'm going. Oh, you know what? I also want to make part of this go into shadow. I'll take a cue off of, I forget whose artwork it is that we just looked at, but the back of their helmet went into the shadow. Yeah, that's cool. Let's do that. Give some sort of artistic lighting to it. Yeah. All right, throw in different ones. Now, the idea is, first thing I'm doing is putting in base tone of the armor color, which is a bronzy sort of orange. Also has, you know, some greens in it, that sort of thing. Then the next thing you want to do is put in the imperfections and what you would say the grime, the weathering. In this case, the helmet is very... Oh, no, that's... I need a smudge tool, but I need my... this one. This is a smudge tool that she was talking about earlier. I just want to soften some of that together. Okay. Then you want to put in the weathering. In this case, almost all of it is weathered, so I'm just putting the weathering down as if that's my base, and then I'm going to paint some of the bronze into it afterwards. Yeah. Question from Thomas. Did you partially paint the second armor already so that you could erase part of it and have it be the thumbnail for this stream? Yeah, I played around with painting, figuring out which kinds of metal I wanted to paint. And then once I decided that, I went ahead and used one of them in the thumbnail, yes. So I had fun painting this. Like, I already painted this last night. And I was like, oh, that's pretty fun. They might like to go over that too. So, yeah, there you go. All right, now we have this. I'm going to use a little dodge set to highlight just to pull out... You know what, I'm going to set it to midtones. I'm not pulling enough there. Pull out basic, soft, light and dark patterns across the helmet. Mm-hmm. Okay, now I want to use, this is not super important, but it's throwing me a little bit that the background color is so close to the armor color, and it won't recognize that I'm no longer holding down the Alt key. I just want some other color back there for it to contrast against. Mm-hmm. You haven't painted in over a month, Jazzy. What crime is this? This cannot happen. You must join the stream this week. Even if you don't paint all the letters, at least paint one of them. You will enjoy it. You will have fun. It will help make you feel energized to do more. Ashley says, "Hi Clint, I've sent in a link to my portfolio. I haven't finished the character and put that on the website. Would like your opinion on my character when you have time." Well, I don't have time to do requested portfolio feedback. I just get too many of them, but I can add yours to the list to be considered if I haven't already, and that's about what I can do. Yeah. Now, some of this grimy stuff I'm going to put on another layer, and it's going to be much more gray. This is going to be sort of the oily residue that has collected dirt. It's just a very, very dull sort of sediment. And that's why I'm doing gray, and it's going to kill off a lot of this color. Brush. I'm pushing it slightly towards the purple side as well. Swatches, when you do your artist review of a painting on an iPad Pro, I would like to know if it can replace it as Cintiq. Okay, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. The file handling so far was the big thing that took me away from working on it more. I thought I would use it a lot. I like the interface, and its processing power is good. That's something I've learned so far. However, I just don't like that I can't plug in my iPad or plug something into my iPad like a USB drive. I can't just drag a file into the program. No. Okay, I think that's good enough for a base tone. When you go ahead and finish this one, I've got one more to do. But the next step is I'm going to put in some bronze. Which is really going to be a dull red tone. Somewhere around here, the sandy tone. But compared to the rest of it, it will seem brighter. And the light is kind of coming down here. You know what? I don't want it to be highlighted from the very top. That's so cliche. I want it to be more like it was in the original one I did. Also, you have to think about where this is getting rubbed, right? The grime is not going to form on sections that are constantly getting wear. The original brassy finish is going to show up on stuff that constantly gets worn down. And a patina will show up or develop on areas that never get worn down. That's where the green will show up eventually. So along a lot of these edges where things might catch on it, or it might rub against something else, is where I want to put this warmer tone. Down here. Then I can just find little spots. This is also sort of one where you want to do some texturing, like just little patterns, little dots, some little pieces get chipped off, right? And they reveal some of the brass underneath. So, and I saw somebody comment on the last one saying, "You squint a lot." Yeah, I squint a lot. I have actually really good vision. I squint a lot because it compresses the detail, and it allows me to see it in bigger blocks, in bigger shapes, as if I stepped away from it, or as if I zoomed out. Now, you don't want to squint down all the way because it's going to adjust the values too much. But if you have squint, it kind of gets rid of the lines that you see in the image, and you can see it in bigger blocks. Yep. So that's pretty good for the brass. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna hit up just a couple of spots a little bit brighter. I might do a little dodge. That'd probably be a little more realistic. Set that to highlight. Just catch a couple of those points. Yep. Now I want to come back. Use my, I can use one of my textured brushes and just put a little more grime back on top of it. So you have a, doesn't look like the brass is setting right on top. You want to show that the brass is underneath it. And something you can do for that even, oh, too far, computer, too far, is to come in here with a really little brush. I'm gonna just do like 3 pixels. And you could put a little shadow on the underside of the grimy stuff. Only on a couple of spots. You don't need to go around the whole thing. As if you can see the thickness of some of this. Yeah. So that's getting more of that super weathered look. Yep. No, I went over the challenge entries about the first thing on the stream. The winner was Thomas Schaefer. If I keep getting a lot more entries, then what I'll end up doing is actually doing a first, second, and third, and maybe I'll figure out something reward-wise that'll be a little different. But this time around, I will say first place was Thomas, and second place was Chloe. I liked hers as well. All right, so we've got this, and we've got the texture on that. Now I want to add a patina. Patinas can range from fairly yellow-green to more blue-green. I'm going to pick something towards the middle, and I'm going to dull it down a little bit from what I have in my palette. There we go. Pick a smaller brush. And like I said, you want to pick out spots where nothing would get cleaned. Back in here, that's probably just a little bright. Let's tone that down some. Burn that down. There we go. So I'm going to put some back in here. Just start by putting it in some of these grooves. Still think that's probably a little vibrant. Let's push that down. This is also something, the same way things can get chipped, things can have patina on them on different spots. Just a little flecks out there with different patina spots. And I'm going to use my color changing brush. Now I'm going to make sections of it. No, that brush is actually a little too rough. I'm going to make sections of it here that, like, basically this whole section down here is more patinaed than the top part. So maybe those shapes show up a little bit better. Yeah. Put some on the bottom of this mask. And I want to come back and also erase some out. And I can dodge and burn this so that it fits in with the lighting scheme a little better, because right now it's about all the same. And I can dodge and burn that some so it has more form to it, and erase pieces of it so it's not so perfect Photoshop brush, you know, that way. There. This is a pattern brush. Let me paint with it. You can see what the brush looks like by itself. Has that sort of look to it. And I'm going to use that as an eraser. Eraser computer. Erase some bits out of it. I think we need some more than that. Yeah, and that looks a little more natural. That pattern is actually based on a sponge, I think. So I can burn some down. That'll fit more with the simple lighting we have going on. This faceplate, I think. Oh, too much. I'll set that to midtones. Drop that faceplate down. Also can brighten up parts of it that are catching more light. Those up here. Maybe along there. This would also work really well for like an old dive helmet. That's exactly the sort of way you'd approach that too. Yeah, I think that's good for that. Pull out and kind of compare those two. So some people ask, you know, how do you paint metal? What kind of metal are you talking about? Because these are both metal, but you would go about them completely different, and they have completely different set of characteristics. So always know that. All right, I'm going to flip over and take a look at the chat for a minute, and then we'll hop in and do the last one. OBS, if you'll help me out. Okay. Let's take a look here. I know that there was a couple of questions I did not get to. Jake Welch, I also enjoy seeing some of the beginner work submitted in the challenges. It makes me feel less intimidated about jumping in. All right, you know, let's see. Maybe we'll take a moment here and just flip through them all. I'll say a comment about them. Renderbrandt, hello. Well, hello. Thank you for joining. Great tutorial into tutoring, and you're welcome. I have to go for now, and we'll watch again later. It's 2 a.m. in France. Oh, yes. Please do. Go get some sleep, man. This video will be recorded. You know, it'll be posted. You can come back and watch the rest of it later. Yeah. Michael says, Blind Nights. I don't know if you're talking about something else. I do not know. Don't know what you're talking about Blind Nights. Oh, you're talking about the helmets. Okay. But yeah, because they don't have eye holes. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they're just enchanted suits of armor and there's nobody inside. That was kind of the thing when I was sketching them. I was sketching helmets that didn't have eye holes. That was the idea behind it. Okay, Silva says, this fella had a great question. I want to know how to choose right value of light, shadow, and materials. I like the idea of what you're trying to learn there, but that is very broad, and I don't know that I can answer it. I want to know how to choose right value of light, shadow, materials. Okay, this is why it's complex. Because in order to answer that, what you need to know is the material and you need to know the lighting arrangement. So in order to determine what value something should be and what color something should be, you have to know what the object base color and value and surface quality is, and you also need to know what the light quality is. On light, you need to know its direction, you need to know its intensity, and you need to know its chroma, or its tint, you know, its warm or coldness of the light. When you have that information, then you can kind of process that and determine what the value of something should be. But aside from that, there's not just a flat answer I can give you. Those are the bits that you need to account for in order to come up with an accurate answer. Yep. Okay, that looks like all the questions. Yeah, let me go over and we will do the last one, and then we'll probably take a look at some of the other entries, and I'll have to hop off. Okay, so give me OBS back. There we go. So for the last one, I want to show a little different approach to go about it. I'm gonna start. This will be a like a darker, so it's still metal, but a darker metal, not a black, but sort of reflective, darker iron, perhaps. And I'm gonna get rid of that head shape underneath here. I don't need it kind of bothering me while I'm going. So let me get that out of the way. Make I'll lose track of which one's the edge and which one's the next plate. There we go. Yeah. All right, now I have that, and I'm going to put in a base tone of sort of what the base color of the helmet is, which is a very dark gray, and that's all I'm doing. It's like 80% gray. Now, excuse me, what I will do is add the lights. Now the lights on the other ones, I just started going in opaque and I just started drawing in the lights. But for this one, I'm going to use a linear dodge that is colored in order to simulate the lights. And for the top, I'm going to use a bluish light. And I'll pick something a little lighter. You know what? I'm going to actually pick a blue light. Let's see, playing around. If my brush will come back. All right, so I'm gonna have a, no, I'm gonna move that a little bit. I don't want it quite so high on the head. I'm gonna right around there. All right, I'm gonna have some spill light going up there. Right across there. And then I want a warmer light coming from down here. Maybe he's looking down at a fire, right? And you've got some warm light. But I want to add a little, back that up one. I want to add some other color to it. Drop down the, yep. I want it to run through a little orange before it, run through some red and violet before it gets to that. And then I can let the very front part of it highlight up more. I'll tone this down a little bit because this armor is not perfectly chromish, but I can turn that down just fine. I also want to indicate a second minor light right there. Maybe another one up here. And we can show some flickers and variances in that light as well. Oops. Back to the brush, please. Okay. Now I go back to here and see about cleaning this up some. Oh, sorry, it's still set on linear dodge. It does help if you turn it to the right setting. And just cut that out for a moment. Now, same thing we did on the other one. Let's go ahead and drop in some blacks on this back side where we're getting that shadow. Pull out the form of that part. And again, we do need to put in some of the three-dimensionality, throw in a little of the cast shadow, nothing fancy here. just have edge shadow going along the inside of this plate. Oh, that is not the right spot. This one. There we go. Now, I do want to put some dark edging. I'm going to turn down my opacity a little bit, but I want to put some dark edging on this reliefed version of the reliefed spot here along the edges. Because it's likely to get a little dirtier, won't get cleaned in that edge, and that's what we want to put in. Inside that little spot, it probably wouldn't get cleaned as much. Put that in. And I want to burn. Use the burn tool. I'm going to set that to shadows. And I'm going to burn along that ridge. Had that up a little high. Turn down a little bit. Downtone says, will you post the painting over you just did on these? Yeah, I could make the PSD available if that's what you're talking about. If you'd be interested for some reason, going out there and downloading it and looking at it. Since when did you start doing art? Since I was a boy. I haven't been doing it full time. That hasn't always been my focus, but it's always been a part of my life since I was a kid. Yeah. I want to go desaturate. And I want to tone down this warm side a little bit. There we go. Let's just mute that down. I also want to burn down the highlights a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to burn down the midtones. Okay. Yes, the Bobbum KD123. Yes, the whole thing will be posted on YouTube later. So for whatever part you missed, you'll be able to go back and take a look at it. All right, now I need to start doing some actual painting. That's essentially going to work as our base tone. Now I want to come in here and grab some of this light blue, go to spots that would be catching some of that, like the inside curves of this, or maybe the top spot where it's curving over towards it. Put that in. It's also going to be catching that edge here, likely going to be catching it very brightly. So grab that. Backside of this one too. Question, what are some artist bad habits you've personally had to deal with? Any of them you still have yet to deal with? Bad artistic habits. Yes, we all have them. I have a tendency, I think, to draw noses too long. I've mentioned that before. That's still something I have to watch out for. And drawing things from the same angle all the time, that's kind of a bad habit. I need to learn to draw things from more angles. Other bad habits. Not practicing enough. I think once I went professional, I stopped making as much time to practice. And so that's something I've been working on doing more. now I want to get a smaller brush to go back and do some of the edge. Like I mentioned in the stream last week, something you can do is just to hit up along the edges. Make sure you're using the right light source light though. Even on the bottom edge of stuff, it can catch lights too. So I'm gonna put that in. And then on this warm side, of course, it's going to be highlighting towards the warm. Swatches, but are you practicing? Yeah, I am doing more practicing. I've been doing some ink drawings, doing some exercises like this. That's always good. And been working on some personal art projects, which helps. I took on a couple of commissions too, which pushes me. Instead of just teaching art, need to keep drawing myself more, and doing a commission forces me to do that. Okay, so that's the base. Let's wrap this one up pretty quick. What are some life balance tips you have for those of us who have regular jobs and family and still want to improve their art, potentially even becoming pros over time? Some life balance tips you have. I'd say one is that really starts getting into the mental game. Not just the mental game of art, it starts getting into the mental game of life and how you use your time and how well you are at managing your time. If you learn to manage your time really well, then you'll get much better results much faster. One of the guys that I've recommended before and I will recommend again is Brendan Bouchard. I listened to some of his stuff just this morning. He has a YouTube channel. Go out there, watch it. His stuff about setting your time, doing good habits. I would say if you do not have a lot of time to come up with an art course, then go purchase an art course. Go out to QBrush. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. QBrush.co. I'll put that here in the live chat as well. So it's spelled just like it sounds. QBrush, C-U-B-E, brush, B-R-U-S-H.co. Go out there. They're having a Cyber Monday sale. And so everything on the website is 20% off with the code BLACK, B-L-A-C-K. Put that promo code in, you get 20% off. I have my whole store out there, so you can go look at the swatches out there, and you can get 20% off of anything I have. But that's just for today, midnight here in the United States. And I think that would help. I know that, what's his name, Mark Burnett, I think, that has that site, came out with an art school program. You can go out there and get one of those. Otherwise, join up for small challenges. Things like I'm doing here. I know a Gnomon workshop, if you haven't gone out there. Gnomon. Go look up Gnomon. They have monthly challenges, and they have some really good prizes on the Gnomon challenges. So those things will force you to do a little work, and that's also good. And if you can get some, I'll put it this way. Scrap together a little money, get a couple of just infrequent mentoring sessions. So have someone like me, have somebody, a working professional who does art education to look at your stuff and give you some feedback. Obviously, you can't do that on like a daily, weekly basis, but every 3 months, say, get a one-on-one consultation with somebody so that you can have a good game plan of where you're going with your art, and then you can work on that on your own for the next 3 months. And then it's kind of like a doctor checkup. then just go in, check in with another guy, get another consultation, and see where you're at. And let them just say, okay, you're doing good here, here, and here. Now for the next 3 months, focus on this. Or they might say, go get these videos or pick up some books on this topic. That would also be a good way to approach it. Yeah. All right, let me, I see that there's some more questions here. No, I don't use 3D programs. That's kind of a fault of mine. I need to learn how to use some, but so far I have not. Nothing against them, I just haven't learned. All right, so that is the basic stuff going on here. Now, some of the things that you can do is come in here and add scratches. Now, scratches are usually lighter. They show up lighter. And they form around, you can think of it as rings around the light source. So these scratches are going to form like this around the light source. Those are the ones that at least are going to show up. So I'm going to put some of those in. Again, I'm doing this very fast. I would take more time, be a little more selective how I'm doing it if it was on a proper commission. But this is more of a concept art approach. You're just putting in the impression of scratches. So I just want to add some scratches to it. I could also put some scratches around that little light source. This little one. And then if there is any other imperfections, you would need to add them as well. So let's say that there's maybe some grime, right? Maybe there's some sort of dirt stuff. Now that is going to be independent of the reflections, right? It's dirt. It's going to be super matte, and it's going to just kind of be a brownish, greenish tone. So I can put that in here. It's going to be a little random. So don't forget the surface quality. You have the metal, then you have things that affect the metal, things that actually sit on top of the metal. And that could be rust, that could be scratches, that could be a layer of oil, that could be a layer of grime or dirt or mud or any kinds of stains. And you put them on there, and if you layer them right, it makes it feel like it's something on top of it, right? So this looks like it's some sort of just corrosion, old weathered stuff on top of the nice shiny brass underneath. And that sort of layer makes it a lot more believable. There we go. Again, using that smudging tool. I'm still getting used to using the smudging tool. For years and years, I never used it, so. Couple of questions. Any tips on designing magic-based creatures like summon animals, specifically techniques to differentiate them from actual animal counterpart? Chat just moved. Hang on. Let me go back up to that. C.S. Repraved asked that question. The place that I would go to do that, here we go. It's Terrell Whitlatch. If I can spell her name right. Terrell, I think I'm spelling it right. Whitlatch. She is the go-to guru of creating fantasy animals. And if you understand basic animal anatomy and how to adapt that into completely alien and original creatures. She has, I don't think I spelled her first name right, but Whitlatch is her last name. I know she has a book or book series. I don't know if she has videos, but that is a place that you'd want to go to. I've seen some articles that she's done, and they seemed very informative. I did get some things out of those. Thomas asks, question, have you ever considered doing a mentorship program, something one-on-one with weekly assignments lasting like 12 weeks, something like Dark and Dead. Yes, I have. Yeah, I'm still considering it. Most people, I've kind of put it towards several people before, but I've never had anyone do it because no one has yet been willing to pay the amount of money it would actually take for me to charge them. For that, the much time as it would take, I would need to charge a significant amount of money. Because it's not just the time that I would spend during the chat. I would have to spend hours figuring out what the course outline would be, coming together with reference photos, talking with them. I would need to do more planning. Yeah, I could spend an hour just figuring out what day and time we're going to be meeting together. Because almost everybody that is my art students, almost everybody. I would say that half of my people that watch this channel are overseas, which means there's significant time delays, and it can be very difficult to work out when you can meet up with somebody. And then I've also had it where I've tried to do mentorships, and we spent the first 45 minutes of what was supposed to be an hour lesson getting a good connection, which meant that, of course, you had to run an hour longer. So they paid for an hour, but it took an hour and 45 minutes of my time. If I could figure out a way to work that all out, and if people would be willing to pay that price, yes. But for right now, no. Right now I'm just doing it through Patreon. But I will be adjusting the Patreon. I kind of talked about it in the stream a while back with you guys. And that is opening up so that there's more people that can get feedback, and that we'll be doing feedback in probably 2 or 3 stages through the process, and not just at the end like I had done previously. Yeah. Swatches asks Vol, for professional work, what kind of workflow do you have to make the best out of your time and not overdo it? What kind of workflow do you have? Workflow changes depending on what the project is, but what kind of workflow do you have to make the best out of your time and not overdo it? I would say that you can actually get faster just the more that you do it. You learn which instincts to trust and which ones not to. And you know what? Let me pause here. I'll take a couple more questions. But let's wrap it up that for the painting. That's essentially what I wanted to cover. You have really shiny metal here, and it can be almost all white because it's reflecting a very bright sky. And essentially it's going to act as a mirror. So you're going to have probably warm or green tones at the bottom, very light tones at the top. The highlights blow out very easy on this kind of metal. And if you're going to start a filigree design, then you could put in a slightly darker tone, draw in your designs, and then go back with a light tone and fill in the designs where they are not recessed. Also, if you're going to be doing edge work, you can put a slight bright edge on the both top and bottom of the gold. Do remember that gold is slightly more green than most people think of it as. And rivets, start with a dark circle and then fill it in with a lighter tone. Give it a little highlight. For this one, you want to start with very dull colors. And the oranges themselves aren't really even that bright. You can work in a little violet tone too, and gray in order to dull it down and show that sort of waxy, dirty finish that it can get. The green patina goes into places where it does not get worn down, places that do not get cleaned, whereas the nice bright brass tones will show up on spots that get rubbed down more, so that the patina can't actually form there because it keeps getting worn. And then on this one, you can put in your dark tone and use your linear dodge tool and brush in order to pop in your highlights, and then you sample those colors in order to fill in the rest of your forms and give added details. Okay, so back to the webcam. Let's answer a couple more questions here. Pamela, you need to go. Well, it was good to have you. Looks like you have one last question. Do you ever use photos as texture overlays? Not very often. Sometimes I will throw a photo texture in there in order to give me some colors, give me some values to work with, so that it's something on hand right there on the canvas that I can sample some stuff from. But I rarely use photo textures that survive all the way to the actual finished image. Yeah, because most of the time I want my brush strokes and not a photo to be the final. Can your next session be about water and water transparency? If you guys are enjoying that, kind of bouncing off of that question, if you guys are enjoying this sort of topical painting thing, then yeah, I'd be very open to doing, water, gemstones, whatever it is. So let me know. Do you want to see more of this sort of thing? If so, then I'll probably start alternating. I'll do like portfolio reviews on 1 week, and then the next week we'll probably do like a topical painting. And for me that would be fun if you guys are finding that useful. I don't want to do all of one or all of the other. I like doing both. You guys need to get some feedback over your portfolios. It can be very difficult to find professionals to give you feedback, especially given where some people live. There just is not an art community to reach out to. So I'll try to balance the two of those. And if you do have certain topics, like he says water is a good topic to cover, I'll leave that in your comments on the video when it gets posted, and say, I would most like to see topics on how to paint X, Y, or Z. Let me know, and I will start a list together on that. Chloe wants to see more portfolio reviews. Okay, I think next time we will do portfolio reviews. So we did that this time just with the topic. And then next week we'll do some reviews and do some paint overs of those. Yeah. The Australian industry is dead. Sorry to hear that. Not much I can do, but fortunately this day and age, a lot of the art community is global and a lot of it is online. So, if you can't find somebody locally, you can't connect with people online like we're doing now. All right, anything that I need to cover? Let's see. I will be rehashing the top 2 levels of the Patreon tiers. I want to do that this week. So stay tuned on the Patreon, and likely what will happen is you will be kicked out of the tiers because I will have to delete them. Then I'll have to make new ones, and you will have to repledge and whichever tier that you want on those. So you'll have more info on that. If you are not already following me on Facebook, facebook.com/curelyart, that is the best place to stay up to date on the live streams, or especially up to date. Like I posted out there a little before this live stream saying I was going to be late on the live stream because of traffic. So follow me out there. You can stay up to date on that. Yeah. If you have not checked out the store, then you can go to swatchesart.com. That is where you can get my ebooks and more in-depth painting and processes. Like what processes do I use for my professional work? I've got about 5 videos on that, on different pieces, so go out there and check that out. If you want to become a patron, it is patreon.com/swatches. And we do monthly art challenges. You get monthly videos that are in-depth. You get PSD files, JPEGs, all that sort of stuff. You also have more chance. I do more feedback for those guys. If you are pledging, I do make an effort to try to respond to you more out there. But I will go make the image live. You know what? Let me do that. I'll do that as soon as I close. I will have the link here in the description. Weekly challenge image. You will go out there in a little bit when I make the image live. You can go download that and paint each letter in a different texture. Submit that in by 5 o'clock. Central Standard Time next Monday. So, yeah. You should get together with Peter and Sam on One Fantastic Week. I believe Sam is near you. I have heard the name One Fantastic Week. I will have, I'm going to jot it down. I don't know offhand actually what that is. But yeah, always looking for good collaborations. Fantastic week. All right, guys, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate your great questions, and hopefully I was able to answer some for you. Hopefully you learned a little bit about painting metal. And, let me know what direction you want this channel to go. I want to be able to help you guys the best I can. So thank you for joining, and stay in touch. Until I see you next time, keep drawing.